And that concludes the superintendent's report.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Hefner. We don't have, well, we have a small group. We don't have any public participation. I will take this opportunity to let the board know that we have a bit of homework. Just as our students have homework on a regular basis, we're going to have a little bit of homework. Last week, I participated in the assessment, self-assessment for the work that boards do, our board does for the school district. It is part of the advanced ed reaccreditation, right? Dr. Melton, actually, you probably should. She is heading that up. Mr. Bounds led the session last Tuesday, and we have a second session, or Thursday. We have a second session this week, and it was very interesting. It was interesting. It was made up of administrators, teachers, community members, who and staff who looked at each of these indicators and I guess graded where the board stood, what they thought in their opinion how we stood in this, because we are part of this whole accreditation process. And it was very interesting. Sometimes I think I was a little bit harder grader, and then sometimes I think they might have been a harder grader, but I think all in all I probably was tougher. But I was so impressed by it, and really it's a great self-assessment tool. And I thought it would be very interesting for each of you to take a look at this and see what just a little bit of this whole reaccreditation process is about. The teachers are having to go through this, so I think it's nice for all of us to go through this. And not quite sure when we can come together and talk about it, but if you would work through this, and I'll figure out a time. And if you have any questions, you can ask Mr. Bounds, because the directions are not included, and I can't say it's self-explanatory. But thank you for allowing me to be a part of that process. And actually, I believe, Mr. Gant, you were part of this process last spring.
I was, Ms. Watson. If the board will remember, I didn't bring any homework to the table either. So. But I was with Dr. Giuliani's group, Mr. Giuliani. No.
Okay. I think that's it. So next we'll go into the action agenda. And our first item on the action agenda are items considered in executive session. May I have a motion? Ms. Baumgartner.
I move that we give selected employment items as shown in Exhibit A.
Okay, is there a second? Ms. Hammond seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hands. All opposed, that passes 7-0. That's all in the executive session number 16. May I have a motion? Mr. Gant.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we approve the continuation of the Excel tuition-based pre-K program shown in Exhibit D.
Is there a second? Ms. Baumgartner seconds. Do we have any discussion? I know we discussed this and had a presentation last time very thoroughly. I appreciate that. Okay. No more discussion, so we'll take a vote. All in favor, please raise your hands. All opposed, that passes 7-0. Next is,
Madam Chair, could I ask a question? We had also asked if, in addition to continuing where it is, that in the event that there was sufficient interest, that we could add additional sections.
perhaps we ought to make a second motion on that. Okay. All right, could I have a motion to add the second section, should there be a need for that or interest? Ms. Hammond.
Oh, it is. I'm sorry. I mashed it too softly. I would move that we add an amendment to our first motion. Is that a proper way, or you want me to?
No, no, an
specific-
amendment's good, yes. To
To consider expanding
add.
to a
in
second, or to adding a second session, or
If the need arises.
if the need arises, how, is that good? You want me to say it over, Sybil?
Does that suffice?
Is that good? You help us, how you would like me to
Sure,
say
thank you,
that?
Ms. Hammond. And Madam Chair, certainly we're looking for an interest, but also available space. Those are two very important facts we want to bring to the community for their public understanding of this, because we will certainly not try to put a program in a school that doesn't have space.
The space, yeah,
nor
that's the key
interest. So
word.
it's those two things combined together that would propel us to try to add an additional program outside of Irmo Elementary, because obviously Irmo Elementary does have an interest. This is the third year of operation for the Excel program there. But should there be interest in another school, and should there be available space? So perhaps for the amendment, Ms. Hammond,
Yeah,
I
it
would
needs to say that, I think, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we've gotten the continuation, if I'm correct, Ms. Stowers. It has passed already for continuation of Excel, correct, Ms.? So,
But-
okay.
So the amendment may say that in other schools,
Ms. Hammond, I just.
You got it
so
written?
if you will look at paragraph 3
okay.
on that section, Exhibit D.
Well, my D's only got, wait, I may have turned it, excuse me, I did. All right,
Okay,
which one?
okay. Well, Ms. Stowers, we're just going to really,
We're really messing you up.
we're
Miss
going to really
Sanders.
mess you up. Mr. Gann has agreed to restate the
Read this one.
motion to include all of this.
Okay, I got it, I found it. You want me to make it now?
Okay, so this is the amendment.
Thanks to Mr. Bounds, I found the paragraph. I'd like to amend the motion to have a permanent continuing program that can be expanded to meet a growing community interest by adding additional sections and/or locations where there is sufficient interest and space available.
Is there a second to that amendment? Mr. Haltwanger seconds it. Any discussion on the amendment? Yes, Mr. White.
I'm just curious, how much space, Ms. Melton, does the program like this take? I guess what schools would likely be a candidate for expansion of this program?
That's a great question, Mr. White. Currently, of course, Irmo Elementary is a school that has it, and it consumes one classroom. So Irmo Elementary is using the one class that they've been using for 3 years now, but there has been interest at Irmo to add a second class. And looking at the number of students that have been involved with this class at Irmo during the last 3 years, we're drawing students from all over School District 5. So they're choosing School District 5 earlier and hopefully staying with us for the duration of their educational experience rather than starting in a private setting and then coming into a public setting. So in a way, it's a recruitment for us. Now, as far as expanding to other schools, we did try to take it to Seven Oaks 2 years ago, but there wasn't enough interest there to add an additional section outside of Irmo Elementary at the time. So we have waited for you all to offer us guidance, whether you supported this or not, before we started seeking out other schools. But we do know that there are certain schools, Mr. Harris, of course, could say the schools that are closed to choice. Those are the schools that have no available space, such as Ballantyne Elementary, such as Chapin Elementary. So schools like that, we wouldn't have room, or Lake Murray Elementary, we would not have room to add this class should there be interest there, because simply there isn't the space available. So if this were to pass tonight, we would then start conversations using these two factors. Where is their interest, and where does space allow us to add this additional class?
Dr. Melton, also, what makes this program unique, could you talk a little bit about the fact that it's a day-long program?
Certainly, certainly. This is a day-long program that is taught by a certified teacher and also a highly qualified instructional assistant. So they have to make sure they've surpassed all the federal and local expectations through Dr. Bain's office to be considered as candidates for this position. It is a full-day experience. Excel at Irmo Elementary does offer an after-school component for those families that do need extended daycare. So at 3 o'clock, they can't pick up their students. They can actually stay at Irmo Elementary in their Honey Bunches program that goes until 6 o'clock in the evening. So we're providing a standards-based education, standards-based meaning South Carolina state learning standards, and also these students are participating with the South Carolina Early Childhood Assessment known as Amplify, Circle Amplify. So we're already collecting information on these students that we can use internally as soon as they start their 5K traditional experience. we know more information about them to make sure we're propelling their success when they enter 5K, rather than trying to collect information the first several weeks of school. So we get a head start, in a sense, on that, Madam Chair.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And
Certainly.
I think it's real important for us to remember that, and that it appeals to a lot of families for many reasons, but certainly the fact that it's day-long, it certainly does help them, but the fact that it's also based on standards. So I think
Absolutely.
it's a great program. So we need to vote on the amendment. Is there any other discussion on the amendment? Yeah.
Did we second the amendment?
We did
We did,
second
okay.
it. Okay, all in favor of the amendment, raise your hands. All opposed, that passes 7-0. Now, if we can now vote on the original motion, any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hands. All opposed, that passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Melton. Next is the naming of the Chapin Cluster Schools. Do you